Oh, welcome in, everybody. It is Wind Up Wednesday. Looky what I have. That's right, everybody. It is Wind Up Wednesday. This is your prize pick prop show for the Thursday night football game, or TNF if you nasty. I'm your girl, Lauren Carpenter. You can find me at StepMomLauren. Welcome in. Welcome in. I am Halloweened out. I got my headdress on. My plumage is up and firing away. I decided to, pour a glass of red today. This is a Cabernet Sauvignon, or if you don't know, it's Cabernet Sauvignon if you're really cool. I'm kidding. Don't ever say that. Otherwise, you'll sound really, really strange. Either way, welcome in, everybody. This is Wind Up Wednesday, heading into week 8, where we get wind up or wind down to get wound up for the Thursday night football game, which is going to be really exciting between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Baltimore Ravens. But before we get into that particular matchup, you need to follow along with me in what I'm doing right here, everybody. Head on over to PrizePicks.com. And if you have not signed up yet, that's okay. It's not like a season-long, you got to set your lineups type thing. It's simple. It's just over-under player props. So if you've never done anything like that before, that's what props are. Over-under. Very, very simple. You're looking at rushing yards, receiving yards, passing yards, touchdowns, all sorts of different options that PrizePicks has for you. And if you are new, very, very lucky are you, because you get your first deposit of up to $100 matched if you use the promo code FTN, just like our network right here. Just with the greatest show on FTN. This is what it is. Wind Up Wednesday, FTN. FTN is the promo code, not Wind Up Wednesday. I should get my own, though. We should petition for me to get my own. I think I should do that. I'll hit up the owner and be like, yo, I need my Wind Up Wednesday promo code so that people are going because of my show. That's not a song, I promise. But anyway, head on over to PrizePicks.com. Use the promo code FTN to get your first deposit matched up to $100. Make your picks. You can do anywhere between 2 and 5 picks. Those are called parlays. And then, even better, head over to FTNDaily.com. And then you can put your picks in there. It's a free pick tracker tool. That's what I do. So as soon as we're done with this show, not only am I going to be adding it to my website, but I am going to be putting my picks over on the pick tracker tool. I've been doing it all season, so you can see my record on there. I've been having some pretty good luck on the Thursdays, which is always good. And you don't have to do all 5 like I do. You can do 2, 3, 4, or 5. And we also have all of our other experts that are there. And what's great, not only about FTN, but about PrizePicks, is that it's not just football. I actually won a 2-leg parlay for hockey, because I love hockey as well. So head on over there. It's super fun. There's also a free Discord chat that you can join if you want to talk about these prize picks, if you want to talk about the over-unders, and that also is free. It is a chat bubble that's right at the top of FTN Daily. And one of the things that I want to bring to your attention too, we have some amazing tools over at FTN Fantasy, FTN Daily, FTNBets.com. And I'm going to show you one of our free tools here in just a hot minute. But remember, when you go to PrizePicks.com, use the promo code FTN to get that first deposit matched up to $100. So not only in the show do we have your TNF PrizePicks props, but I'm also going to go into some starts for week 8 as well as sits from week 8. And then I'm going to address your questions that you leave here live with me. Thank you so much for joining me. And also that you've submitted earlier today on social media. So thank you very much for all of your questions. We're getting down into crunch time, which is always either terrifying or exciting, depending on what your record looks like. But head on over to FTN Fantasy. Let's do that one. Let's throw that promo code up, Producer Fox. Use my promo code SML to get 20% off any package over at FTNFantasy.com. And I'm going to show you one of our free tools that we have over there in just a quick minute. But again, my promo code SML for 20% off any package at FTNFantasy.com. Also, FTN Daily works there too. And PrizePicks. Use promo code FTN. All right, let's get right down in it. Producer Fox, do me a huge solid and share that screen up there for me, if you wouldn't mind. I would like to show the people exactly what I'm talking about here. This is one of our newest tools that we have that has been kind of revamped, if you will. And this is one of my go-to tools that I use when I do my starts and sits, when I do my research, when I do my prop bets. And the reason that FTN Fantasies is so much better than many of the other sites, all of the other sites that I've used, is this particular piece right over here. See per game? You can have per game or you can have season tool. Now, what this is your fantasy points against. So against a position, I should probably clarify that for you off the bat. So this is how defenses will fare, if you will, against the quarterbacks, against tight ends, against wide receivers, against running backs. So if I scroll my screen down here, you see all of these stats. I'm not expecting you to immediately absorb all of these numbers that are on here because it's kind of a lot. But right up here in position, you see I have quarterbacks selected. So you can go down to running backs, you can go to wide receivers, and you can go to tight ends. And this will track all sorts of amazing data for you. I have it on per game here because I like to see on average what defenses are doing on a per game basis against the position. So if we look over on the left, we can see here the Arizona Cardinals, they have allowed on average 24.4 completions to the quarterback position, which is kind of cool, on 37.7 attempts for roughly 251.7 yards a game. So when you guys are making your start sit decisions, when you're making your over under decisions over on prizepicks.com, promo code FTN, make sure you check out our fantasy points against tool. It is very simple. You can find it on ftnfantasy.com. Now, that is one of our free tools. I believe it's free. If it's not, use my promo code SML. We also have tons of other things on there, like our splits tool, which is unbelievable. I have used that in several videos. We have rankings. We have projections. We have Jeff Ratcliffe's information. We even have an edge tool that shows you what our expert, specifically Jeff Ratcliffe, thinks that these guys are going to get, not just for your redraft set and lineups, but also for your prize picks over under. So now that I've shown you this one, again, go ahead and use this tool, everybody. It's really great. You want to see the season totals? Oh, look, they have season totals as well. It is literally such an invaluable data set that I cannot speak more highly of. So I absolutely love this. Go on over to FTN Fantasy, check out fantasy points against per position. You will absolutely love it. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this. And of course, this is going to be all like, oh, look, we don't even know what we're doing. Let's go to the board. Okay, we are heading in to week 8, my friends. And this is going to be a good game, finally. We have had a few Thursday night football games. Well, let's just say the last 2 have been, shall we say, boring. They have not been very fun. Low scoring, just gross. Like, could you really think of something better to do on a Thursday? Like, not only are you making us pay for Amazon Prime just to watch the Thursday night games, make them interesting. You know, I really don't think that's too much to ask. Or give us a free month of Prime Video if you're going to put crap matchups. But nay, this Thursday night is fantastic. We have 2 teams who are oddly struggling on offense, but have the opportunity to have a makeup game, a get right game against each other. Now, one of them one of them doesn't have to win. Let's hope it's not a tie. We don't like to see ties, but the overtime isn't too bad because we get some extra points out of it. But either way, this should be a better Thursday night game because the Baltimore Ravens are one of the worst secondaries in the league. And Tom Brady needs all the help that he can absolutely get. Now, I'm just going to leave it at that, but I'm going to dive into what I think are some pretty darn good props heading into it. But I'm going to start first with the rushing yards. So it's actually on rushing yards right now. But if you see my mouse right here, if you've never used PrizePicks before, you have passing yards, rushing yards, receiving yards, all sorts of different options. And I want everyone to remember too that these will change. All right. These aren't set in stone. These will adjust and they will change the closer and closer to kickoff that you get. So just keep that in mind. So I'm going to start first with the rushing yards, which is where we are right here. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to attack this guy right here, Gus Edwards. Welcome back to the NFL, my friend. What took you so long, A? And B, why you got to do Kenyon Drake like that? I mean, honestly, Kenyon Drake, he had 11 rush attempts for 5 yards. Why? Because he got Gus Edwards did. Is that a word? I'm going to make it a word. Gus Edwards did fantastic. Oh, projections had changed. See, look at that. Did you see that little bubble that just popped up here? Projections have changed since I have last visited. Let's just go ahead and refresh this page then because I don't want to steer you guys wrong. Let's go ahead and refresh. And then let's head on over here. See all these tabs too? This is pretty cool. All of these tabs are the different sports that PrizePicks has, which is really cool. So I'm going to go back over to the NFL. I'm going back to the rushing yards, and I'm going back to Gus Edwards. Now, his line is at 45.5. I absolutely love this. But what I think is kind of rich is that I think this line has actually changed since I did it. It did. So when I did this line on Gus Edwards, the line was 48.5 or 48 and a hook. They've actually lowered this to 45 and a hook, which I find fascinating because either way, I'm still taking the over for Gus Edwards rushing yards. Now, you might think that's crazy because Tampa Bay's defense is supposed to be very, very good against the run. Guess what? They're not. They have, well, that's kind of an exaggeration. They're not as good as we have expected them to be, both on defense as well as on offense. But they have allowed 96.9 rushing yards per game. How do I know that? I went over to my FTN fantasy points against to find those numbers lickety split. In fact, last week, they allowed Chuba Hubbard and Deonta Foreman 181 total yards on the ground. That's crazy. That's a lot of yards. And Edwards turned 16 attempts into 66 yards. Now, granted, that was against Cleveland, who was absolutely terrible against the run, but it was Gus Edwards' first game back. So I do not mind this line of 45.5 because besides Lamar, it's probably just going to be Gus Edwards. Kenyon Drake could snipe a touchdown here and there, but I am all about the over on this 45.5 rushing yards for Gus Edwards. Now, let's go ahead and head on over to receiving yards, which is just the next tab over. And this one is a little bit more, shall we say, zig while others zag, if you will, which isn't always great for over-unders. But I couldn't pass up this line, which is only 12.5 receiving yards for Rachaad White, who is the RB2, if you will, of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He has been getting more and more involved in that offense over in Tampa with Leonard Fournette. And 12.5 was just too juicy for me to say a less. And I really like the more on this. Now, he hasn't been the pass catching back over the last couple of weeks, but he did hit 28 receiving yards in week 5. He also hit 50 receiving yards in week 4. So we know that it can be done. We know that he is capable of getting it done when he is targeted and has the opportunity. And I brought up Tom Brady earlier. He is having a very difficult time connecting with his wide receivers, especially downfield. There were some very odd passes that Mike Evans dropped and also that he overthrew to Mike Evans as well as Chris Godwin. It's been very uncharacteristic of the team. Now, for Tom Brady, what they need to do is they need to start moving the chains and they need to start throwing the football that starts with short and intermediate passes. And I think that Rachaad White and Leonard Fournette can both be those guys. Now, Leonard Fournette's line was at 29.5. I thought that was a little bit too rich for my blood. So that's why I liked the 12.5 for Rachaad White on the receiving yards. And the Ravens have allowed the 6th most receiving yards to running backs so far this season. Another little tidbit you can find on Fantasy Points Allowed over at ftnfantasy.com. Use promo code SML to get any package. 20% off any package. Speaking of Tom Brady, we got to do Tom Brady. Now, again, I'm doing a zig and a zag here. I don't mind either option on the over on a half of an interception for either Lamar Jackson or Tom Brady. But I am going to go ahead and select Tom Brady on this one. And the reason why I'm going Tom Brady over Lamar Jackson is kind of more of a coin flip than anything, or a gut call, if you will. But if he's going to keep force-feeding Mike Evans and force-feeding Chris Godwin, I think that the Ravens have the opportunity to pick him off. So I think this is kind of an easy line here. Again, I don't mind Tom Brady or Lamar Jackson on the over of half of an interception. And let me go right down here. We're going to stick with Tampa Bay. And I'm going to go over to field goals. That's right. You can even do kickers here. Everybody, this is so fun. I absolutely love this. I'm going to go Ryan Succop. Ryan Succop has, I think, probably been the MVP for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He is obviously their kicker. And he has kicked 2 or more field goals in, 5 out of the last 7 weeks. 2 or more field goals. 5 out of the last 7 weeks. I just want to let that sink in. That includes 4 in 2 different games. 4 field goals is what Tampa has had to rely on in 2 weeks. So if Tom Brady can't get into the end zone, if they cannot find a way to score touchdowns, they are going to be relying on Ryan Succop. And I absolutely love this. I'm going to smash the over. I think he can easily kick 2 field goals, and I think he can kick and make 2 field goals. Last but not least, let's go right on over to passing yards. And I'm going to go with my boy Lamar Jackson. Now, this line I find to be much more juicy, I believe, than the one that was originally. So when I first did my line, his passing yards were set at 205.5, which I still did the under. even at 205.5. They raised his line up a little bit at 210.5. I'm still going the under. I am still going the under on this. Here's the thing. Lamar Jackson uses his legs a lot, and he runs and he runs and he runs. Now, he has been passing over 200 yards. So I don't want to say that his passing game is anemic. We're not talking about like a Justin Fields type of lack of pass production. But he has had a few games here under 200 yards, which is what we're looking at with the line of 210.5 or 205 when I did my line. Here's the other thing that's interesting. So the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have allowed an average of 190 passing yards to quarterback so far this season. Now, of course, there's some that are higher, and then there are some that are lower. That's why it's an average. But looking at Lamar Jackson, who's likely going to be running the football with Gus Edwards, with his own legs, and then using his arm to target maybe Devin Duvernay, maybe Mark Andrews, maybe on those shorter and intermediate passes for touchdowns, I'm still not sold that Rashad Bateman is going to play. He was not on the injury report, but there hasn't been anything come out and saying like, yeah, he's 100% ready to go. Even still, I'm going to take the under on Lamar Jackson's 210.5 passing yards. Sometimes it does pay to wait to make these lines, but I'm okay. I'm still going to go the under even on my line, 205.5. And there you have it, my friends. We have the over on Gus Edwards rushing for 45.5. We have the over on Rachaad White's 12.5 receiving yards. We have the over on Tom Brady's half of an interception. We have the over on Ryan Suckup making 1.5 field goals. And we have the under on Lamar Jackson passing for 210.5. I almost said 200.5. 210.5 passing yards for Lamar Jackson. And there you have it, folks. Those are the Thursday or TNF Week 8 prize picks. Remember, head on over to prizepicks.com. Use the promo code FTN to get your first deposit matched of up to $100. Pretty great. I think I need to wet the whistle after that one. Pretty good. Now remember, you don't have to do all 5. You can do 2 to 5. You can 2, 3, 4, all 5 if you'd like. If you disagree with me, or you don't agree, I should say, do the opposite. Pick other ones, but make sure you head on over to FTN Daily and enter those picks into our free pick tracker tool, and then converse with us and everybody else who's doing these as well on our free Discord chat. It's that little chat bubble all the way at the top. All right, everybody, are you ready to get into our Week 8 start and sit? I have to say, you can go ahead and throw that slide up there because I want everyone to take a look at the sweet champagne, or not champagne, we'll just call them the wine glass. And thank you very much to Bandit. You did it, buddy. You did it. So this sweet wine glass here is called All Day Rosé. I went away from the big play because not all these guys are big play that I start. Some of them are safer floor options. So I went All Day Rosé. And here are 5 starts for Week 8, also known as All Day Rosé. First one, I'm picking on the Lions again. I promise I'm not doing this to be a hateful, nasty person. I like the Lions. My husband's a Lions fan, but the Lions are very bad on defense. So I am going to go with Raheem Mostert is likely going to finish as an RB1 this week against the Detroit Lions. I absolutely love him. And the Lions are ranked 30th in the league against running backs. They've allowed 10 rushing touchdowns so far and almost 900 yards. Yeah, smash start for Raheem Mostert all day long. So all day rosé for Raheem Mostert for sure. Next up, still don't know what's going on with Melvin Gordon. He's a sit for me, but Latavius Murray is not. I love Latavius Murray. He is the running back for the Denver Broncos. They're playing the Jacksonville Jaguars. And Melvin Gordon and Latavius Murray had some weird split touches. They almost, I don't want to say the same because Melvin Gordon did out-touch Latavius Murray, but Latavius Murray got the goal line work. I expect that to continue. So Latavius Murray is the one that you're going to have that touchdown upside with. I love this, especially against the Jaguars, who are 26th worst against the running back position. So Latavius Murray, great start, I believe, against Jacksonville. And the next one is kind of a twofold, a person that I think you should start. It's Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard, running back for the Dallas Cowboys. This is an interesting situation. They're playing the Bears, who are pretty weak against the running back position. But Ezekiel Elliott, I don't know if anyone saw this, or if you particularly, if you maybe your friend saw it, but you didn't see it. Ezekiel Elliott hyperextended his knee. It was gross. I was forced to look away from the TV because I got a little queasy. It was really gnarly. But he is officially listed with a knee sprain, and he did not practice today. Ezekiel Elliott, I think, has missed one game so far due to injury. He's been crazy about trying to stay on the field. Zeke is nuts. He's absolutely crazy. In fact, he stayed in the game even though his knee bent backwards, which kind of sounds like it's from a horror movie. Happy Halloween. But this is an interesting position because if Ezekiel Elliott, misses time, then Tony Pollard is an auto start. But even if he's limited, I think that Tony Pollard has some huge upside here against the Chicago Bears, like I said. They've allowed 6 touchdowns to the running back position, which I'm not really going to put for Tony Pollard because that's usually where Zeke thrives. So if Zeke is limited, he will probably be the goal line back, but that's okay. They've still allowed 784 rushing yards, and you're going to have a ton of volume from Tony Pollard. So I think that he is a start. He is one little shimmy juke away from busting out a huge run and just racking up points. I love Tony Pollard this week. And we have 2 more here. Interesting one because he burned me a few times, but I'm going back. It's also interesting because he refuses to wear shoes. It is Mac Hollins, also Hunter Renfrow as well. I think he's a wonderful start. But Mac Hollins is one of the wide receivers, in addition to Hunter Renfrow, for the Las Vegas Raiders. They're playing the New Orleans Saints, who are in a bit of a pickle. We have a lot of really good teams this year that have been, struggling. Injuries, all sorts of weirdness going on, but the Saints have been pretty weak against the wide receiver position. Now, I do like both of these wide receivers. Hunter Renfrow is going to be more of your PPR guy. He's going to be the one that's going to kind of be gobbling up those targets. But Mac Hollins is that big downfield threat that can get you those big, big points, but he is a little bit more boom or bust. The Saints have allowed 1,271 yards to wide receivers and 7 touchdowns, and they are ranked 28th against wide receivers. So I do love both of them heading into that. If you need a little bit more safety, or what I call the safe floor, or I think most of us call the safe floor, that's Hunter Renfrow. Your big play rose is going to be Mac Hollins. And last but not least, this one doesn't really need a ton of explanation because it's Irv Smith. Irv Smith, tight end for the Minnesota Vikings. I'll give you one word: Cardinals. The Cardinals are absolutely terrible against the tight end position. Just ask Jawan Jennings, who scored 2 touchdowns against them last week. It's absolutely terrible. What secondary they do have is going to be spent covering Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, and I think that's going to leave Irv Smith just wide open to be able to not only gobble up targets and receptions, but also get you a score for the week as well. But we also have to look at the downside of some of these matchups. Sadly, we do have our sits, also known as fades, because in a lot of these situations, or the no way, I still giggle every time I see those cute little wine glasses. Look how angry he is. So mad. Or maybe she, I don't know. I think she needs eyelashes if it's going to be a she. So I think it's a dude. So these are our no way Chardonnays or fade Chardonnays, whichever one you feel is best to pertain to these particular players. But in some of these cases, you might have to start these players. If you do, surround the rest of your roster with safe floor and high opportunity, high scoring, but big boom bust potential. It's never fun. Have at least 1 or 2 guys that is big play, but not safe. And then have your remainder of your guys safer. So what I mean by that is, instead of doing a high risk quarterback, do a safer quarterback like Geno Smith. That's what I mean by safe floor, as opposed to big play opportunities. But make sure you have a nice diversified portfolio of both of those types of players in your roster if you do have to start 1 or 2, or God forbid, 3 or more of these sit players. The first one is Jeff Wilson Jr., running back for the San Francisco 49ers. I know this may seem a little bit obvious, but the writing's been on the wall for him. He's had back-to-back matches of just not very good production, and he lost a fumble, which is kind of bloop. But the nail in the coffin was Christian McCaffrey getting traded over to the San Francisco 49ers. So he's done. I think he's droppable at this point as well. If you do have Jeff Wilson, try everything you can to not have to play him. He could get lucky and fall in the end zone, but other than that, I don't like it. They're playing the Rams, who is one of the toughest against running backs. So no bueno. I don't like this at all. In fact, I do have another 49er on my fade as well. But let's stick with the running back position. And I already brought this player up. It's Kenyon Drake. Like I said, he turned 11 rushing attempts into 5 yards. Really? Wow. After posting over 100 the week before, ugh. Kenyon Drake is another one. The matchup is absolutely just gross against the Buccaneers, and it's going to be, well, gross for him. I think it's going to be great for Gus Edwards. I think it's going to be great for Lamar Jackson, but that's why the rushing line was so low for Gus Edwards. It was only at 48.5 or 45.5. So it's just not going to be a huge run game, and the touches to the running back position are going to go to Edwards, or Lamar is going to keep it himself. So we're going to sit Kenyon Drake this week. I know he was a very popular waiver wire pickup. I'm guilty. I went after him too because guess what? Edwards was already taken in most of my leagues. But as I mentioned, I do have another 49er on this list. It is Brandon Ayuk, wide receiver for the San Francisco 49ers. Yeah, he did really well last week because they played the Falcons. That's kind of a gimme for any wide receiver playing the Falcons. You just can go ahead and start them. But they're again, they're playing the Rams. And the Rams have been like shockingly stout. They allowed like 11 yards total to wide receivers the week before their bye. It was crazy. So Jimmy G is going to have Aaron Donald like breathing in his face or trying to kill him the entire game. That doesn't really go well for pressure. And I think he's going to be just dunking it off to people like George Kittle, to Christian McCaffrey. So I don't see a lot of opportunity for Brandon Ayuk here. So if you have to play him, I get it because he has produced, but just make sure you've got someone in there that has some big playability to make up for any deficit that he might give you. Also, another thing I don't like about Kenyon Drake is that he's on the Thursday night game. You never want to have like a 0 or a 2 points on Thursday night. That absolutely stinks. 2 more here on the sit column before we get into your questions for week 8. Romeo Doubs, this one's kind of an obvious one too, but I just feel it's necessary because I've answered so many start-sit questions about Packers wide receivers. Sit him. I don't know what is going on with the Packers. I don't know what's going on with Aaron Rodgers. And worst of all of that, they're playing the Buffalo Bills. Just stay away until Green Bay figures out what they're doing. Now, that's not the case for Aaron Jones. That's not the case for A.J. Dillon. I do like both of those players. Same thing with Robert Tonyan out of necessity, but just avoid the Packers wide receivers until we know what's going on. In fact, Romeo Doubs is also droppable if you need to make room on your roster for injuries and bye weeks. Last but not least, Dawson Knox. I know he's good. He is a good player. He's a good tight end. I'm sticking with this same game. Where the Packers are weak is not the tight end position. Let's put it that way. The Packers are very, very good against tight ends. I think they're one of the best. Let me see what I have them on the ranking for. I think they're like 3rd best against tight ends, something ridiculous like that. Don't play Dawson Knox. Go for someone who has better upside, like Irv Smith that I brought up earlier. Josh Allen has plenty of targets to go around between Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis. So try to avoid Dawson Knox. I think he's going to be disappointing. Now watch, he's going to score 2 touchdowns just to tick me off because that's how fantasy football works. But according to the numbers, there are better options to play at tight end if you can, specifically Irv Smith. If he's not available, check out Evan Ingram. He's been doing very well for the Jacksonville Jaguars as well. All right, everybody, that has been our start and segments, our all-day rosés and our no-way Chardonnays. Before we hop into your questions, I'm going to take a sip. This is surprisingly not terrible. It's like Walmart brand Cabernet Sauvignon. So it's not like high-end, but it's also not terrible. I'm actually quite surprised. Who knew? $4.99. Let's go. I'm on a budget. So what? All right, let's hop in to your questions, my friends. Look at all these wonderful people who have joined me. Wendy, thank you so much. Hi, how are you? And we have Mr. Nice Guy. Thank you for finally joining me on a Wind Up Wednesday. Thank you. I appreciate you, my friend. Albert, as always, thank you for joining as well. Jeff, my love, thank you for joining. And Iggy, one of the greatest, I think the greatest hair I've ever seen, especially in real life. I think this one is better. I don't know which one. This one? This view? This view is better? I'm not quite sure. Or is it the headdress? I think it's the headdress that's better. It's usually better than the ball cap. Look how festive this is. It's actually quite lightweight and very comfy. All right, Brett Thunderstruck, also one of my favorites. Gus Edwards or Michael Carter this week in a full PPR. This is a fantastic question. I love both of these guys. I'm going to lean Gus Edwards. Both of them have very poor matchups. I think what is going to happen with Michael Carter is what we saw happen to Travis Etienne and James Robinson in the first few weeks in Jacksonville. James Robinson has been traded over to the Jets, in case anybody missed that. So I think Michael Carter is going to find a lot of room in between the 20s. That's going to continue, and then James Robinson has the opportunity to fall into the end zone. So between two bad matchups, Brett, I am going to go with Gus Edwards because I think that he has, I don't want to say the solo opportunity, but a majority of the rushing opportunity. So give me Gus Edwards over Michael Carter. Both of them are two good options, though, although their matchups are kind of stinky. Mr. Nice Guy, you're taking a four-leg parlay. Bucs win. Brady passing on the over. I love that one, by the way. Godwin receiving on the over. About time. Am I right? And then Evans on the receiving over. You are just all that positive juju for the Bucs. I absolutely love it, Mr. Nice Guy. Let's hope that just permeates into the atmosphere and just sinks into their epidermis and they come out just crushing on Thursday night, because that would be super awesome, because that means Lamar Jackson has to crush too, and hopefully he doesn't do it with his passing yards. Hopefully he does it with his legs. Otherwise my lives will be just blown up. Brett, another question for you. Thank you so much. Daniel Jones or Jared Goff this week? You need a big performance. This is tough because both of these guys aren't exactly like, wee, except Daniel Jones has been shockingly wee. So he's more like French wee as opposed to like wee, like off the map. I do like Daniel Jones. Not only do I think that Daniel Jones can give you a very safe floor, but I think that his upside opportunity is pretty good. What you're going to have to bank on with Jared Goff is that they can get their offense rolling, because just because they're in a deficit does not mean that he is going to play well to get them back. He's not a Matthew Stafford, Lion, fourth quarter comeback kind of guy. They did start that way in the season, but he's kind of faltered. Now, let's hope after their bye week, they've kind of figured a few things out, but I'm going to rely on Daniel Jones here over Jared Goff. And Mr. Nice Guy, he's already ruled out about an hour ago. Oh, which one was it? Let me know. Mr. Nice Guy, let me know who was ruled out. Or Producer Fox, let me know who was ruled out. Unless you were talking to somebody else. Oh, Hollins. Oh, I'm sorry. What? Matt Collins. I knew what you meant. He has great hair, but I'm serious. I watched an episode of Good Morning Football, and he literally walks around barefoot. He walked through New York City barefoot into their studio barefoot and did the segment barefoot. He even kicked his barefoot feet up on the table because they were talking about how he likes to keep his feet strong and get his feet stronger by walking around barefoot. That seems so unhealthy, but you do you, Mac, and his hair is also quite fabulous. He's also a very, very cool dude. And the Tootsie Pop, how are you doing, Rachel? One of my favorites. Jimmy G or Cousins? This is a good question. I'm afraid of Aaron Donald for Jimmy G. So I am going to go Kirk Cousins over Jimmy G. I think that they have plenty of opportunity. They, meaning the Vikings, over the Arizona Cardinals. So give me Kirk Cousins there. And then Zeke has been ruled out. Thank you, Mr. Nice Guy. Okay, then Tony Pollard all day long. Tony Pollard all day long. Smash start. Wonderful. Let's hope he's okay. And then Jeff Carpenter would like to know, thank you, honey, Alec Pierce or David Montgomery in your flex. This sucks in two different ways because I don't know what to do with Sam Ehlinger at all. But David Montgomery has a really bad matchup. If you're okay with David Montgomery splitting carries with Khalil Herbert, which I think is also on your squad, I would go David Montgomery for his safety, although he doesn't have a huge ceiling, whereas I think Alec Pierce is going to have a slightly higher ceiling, but a lower floor. So I think I would try to go the safer play here and play David Montgomery until we know what Sam Ehlinger or Ehlinger. Can someone please clarify how the heck to say his name? I've literally heard it both ways. Both ways. I need someone to clear this up for me so that I'm not saying his name incorrectly. It's like, when people call me Laura, I hate that. I don't hate it. It happens all the time. Like Laura, I'm like, no, it's Lauren. Lauren. Speaking of which, Lauren Carpenter, you can find me at StepMomLauren. You can also subscribe to my website, StepMomLauren.com. I put all my content, including this video, on my website. And one more here from Ronald Gill. Thank you so much for joining, my friend. Swift for Hurts. Interesting. You have Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, and Dameon Pierce. Are you just bragging right now? The Hurts owner has Lamar also. Should I settle for Lamar? Settling for Lamar is a strong choice of words. I think go with your gut on this one, but I would go Jalen Hurts. I think I would go Jalen Hurts on this. I think we go Jalen Hurts. That's a mighty fine trade you have going there, my friend. All right, let's get into the questions that you all submitted to me earlier today. Pardon me, on the socials, which no one ever says anymore, or if they did, I'm still bringing it back. Lou Hendren, thank you so much, my friend. Start 3. ETN, Kenneth Walker, Taylor, Edwards, and Swift. Again, this is an absolute embarrassment of riches, and I wish I had your issue. My answer is going to be Jonathan Taylor, Travis Etienne, and Kenneth Walker. I like those 3. I like all of these guys, but those are the 3 that I am going to go to. And we have up next Eric Priest. What are my thoughts on going after Kareem Hunt, Jerry Jeudy, and or DJ Moore with the possibility of them getting traded? This is a great question because I think this is more a pardon me. I think it's more of a personal kind of a choice that you want to make here. I don't like trying to go after players that I am not sure they're going to have future value, if that makes sense, right? So if they're not producing right now, I'm not going to go trade for them in the hopes that they may have future value later if they get traded to a completely different team. That's a lot of speculation. It's a lot of guessing. However, I don't hate the idea, especially if you have room. Just make sure you're not giving up too much to go get players that you're not even sure are going to be performing A, on a new team, or B, at all. So I would just be careful if you're going to make those trades, but I don't hate it. All right, what we got next here? King AD, one of the coolest. Start Paris Campbell, Rondale Moore, or Wandale Robinson. I've been getting this question so often between Rondale Moore and Wandale Robinson. It's the Rondale or the Wandale. I am not touching Paris Campbell. I understand that he had 2 really good, solid weeks. That wasn't with Sam Ellinger or Ellinger, however you say it. It wasn't with Samskis, okay? It was with Matt Ryan. I don't trust it. I am not chasing the points on Paris Campbell. I'm waiting to see what that offense does, and I have a feeling it's going to be on the ground. So the choices here are going to be between Rondale Moore and Wandale Robinson. Give me Wandale Robinson all day long. Daniel Jones, when Saquon Barkley is either not in the play that's called, or he's a decoy, or if Saquon Barkley is not open to pass to, or if Daniel Jones' running lane is gone, he looks to Wandale Robinson, and then he looks directly to Daniel Bellinger. So give me Wandale Robinson all day long. I absolutely love that he is healthy and back again. King AD again. Hayden Hurst to Greg Dulcich. This is messed up. This is messed up because I really want to say Hayden Hurst, but I'm going to say Greg Dulcich as of now. Ask me again later because I need to think on that because I don't want to chase the points with Dulcich, but he has really been explosive coming off of his injury. Nope, I lied. I'm going Hayden Hurst. I'm sticking with that excellent Bengals offense, and Hayden Hurst has been seeing not a ton, but he's been seeing targets. Either way, I trust Hayden Hurst to not give you a goose. And Dan Domingo, pick 3 between Mixon, Stevenson, ETN, Walker, or Brian Robinson, another embarrassment of riches. Oh, that's really tough. All right. I'm going to go Mixon. I'm going to go ETN, and I'm going to go Walker. I do love Ramondre Stevenson, and I do love Brian Robinson, but for your particular situation, my friend, I say we're going to go with Mixon, ETN, and Kenneth Walker, who I am just so excited about. All right, Fox, do we have any more here that came in? Fox, Brian Robinson or Kareem Hunt? Brian Robinson. Brian Robinson is going to be your safer floor option. I think this is basically Nick Chubb's backfield, and Kareem Hunt is just trying to go to a new team. So I'm going to go Brian Robinson here. I know that he's been Antonio Gibson, but I think he's going to be okay. He's going to give you some safe volume. And is there anyone, a Boston Scott or Chase Edmonds? Is that going to be for your RB2 spot, Mr. Nice Guy? Ew. Boston Scott. No. I lied. Let's go Chase Edmonds here. Because I really like the matchup, like I said, against the Lions. And if the Lions are able to shut down the run game at all, it's going to be trying to shut down Raheem Mostert. So maybe Chase Edmonds will be able to get involved in the receiving game a little bit. So I changed my mind. I'm going to go Chase Edmonds on that one. Both of them are viable options because of where they're at, but Chase Edmonds for me. And Brett, Paris Campbell or Alec Pierce in half PPR, I'm going Alec Pierce. I'm not excited about it, but I'm going Alec Pierce. All righty, it's Zeke. Okay, and I think that's it. My friends. We made it. Can you even believe it? We made it. We are heading into week 8. Remember, everybody, head on over to PrizePicks.com. You're welcome, Mr. Nice Guy. Head on over to PrizePicks.com. Use the promo code FTN to get your first deposit matched up to $100. Remember, it's not just football, everybody. Tons of sports are on there to get your research in. head on over to ftnfantasy.com and use my promo code SML. Also right there on your screen that producer Fox will put up here in just a hot minute. If he doesn't, it's right there. SML, to get 20% off any package that is over on FTN. And we have basketball starting up too, everybody. I'm not a big hoops girl, but I know a lot of people that are. Head on over to FTN Fantasy. Use that promo code SML. Helps me out, helps you out. And we made it, everybody. Cheers to you. Make sure you are following us here at FTN Fantasy. Also, make sure you're following me, obviously, super important, at StepMomLauren. You can also sign up for my website, which is StepMomLauren.com. A replay of this video will not only be on our FTN YouTube channel, which you should subscribe to, but it will also be replayed on my website as well. It has been a pleasure, as always, to help you all out. And good luck, everyone, in week 8.